Manchester United transfer update. The real story behind Isak and Sesko links. Welcome to United News, your most trusted source for all things Manchester United. When the transfer window heats up and rumors fly around like crazy, we know you need someone to cut through the noise and give you the real facts. That's exactly what we do here at United News. We bring you honest, straightforward coverage that helps you understand what's really happening at Old Trafford. With just 1 month left in the summer transfer window, Manchester United fans are asking some big questions. Will we finally get that world-class striker we desperately need? Are the links to Alexander Isak real or just media hype? What about Benjamin Sesko? Is he actually coming to Old Trafford? These are the questions keeping Red Devil supporters awake at night, and we're here to give you the answers you need. The current state of United's transfer business. Before we dive into the striker situation, let's talk about what United have already done this summer. The club has been busy, that's for sure. They've brought in 3 new attacking players already: Diego Leon, Matheus Cunha, and Bryan Mbeumo. The total cost for these 3 signings? A massive £134.5 million. Now, you might be wondering why United are spending so much on attack. Well, it's pretty simple, really. Last season was absolutely terrible for the club. Finishing 15th in the Premier League was embarrassing for a club like Manchester United. The board and manager Ruben Amorim clearly believe that fixing the attack is the key to getting back where we belong. But here's the thing, even after spending all that money, United still want more firepower up front. They're looking for a proper number 9. Someone who can lead the line in Amorim's preferred 3-4-2-1 formation. This is where the Isak and Sesko stories come in. The Alexander Isak situation. Dream or pipe dream? Let's start with Alexander Isak. The Newcastle striker has been one of the best forwards in the Premier League over the past couple of seasons. He's quick, he's clinical, and he knows how to find the back of the net. So naturally, when reports came out saying United had made an inquiry for him, fans got excited. But hold on a minute. Before we all get carried away, let's look at the facts here. According to Sky Germany's Florian Plettenberg, United did make some kind of inquiry about Isak. But here's where it gets interesting. The player himself apparently turned down the approach. Why? Because he wants to join Liverpool instead. Now, Liverpool had already tried to sign Isak earlier in the window. They put in a huge bid worth £120 million. Newcastle said no. Liverpool then decided not to go back with another offer. So where does that leave Isak? Well, he's still at Newcastle, but he's made it clear he wants to move to Anfield. But what about United's chances? Are they real or just media speculation? The Manchester Evening News has some pretty strong opinions on this. They think the whole story is unrealistic for several reasons. First, there's the money. Isak would cost an absolute fortune, probably even more than that $120 million Liverpool offered. United have already spent big this summer, and they don't have Champions League money coming in. Can they really afford another massive transfer? Second, there's the Champions League factor. Both Newcastle and Liverpool are playing in Europe's top competition this season. United are not. For a player like Isak, who's at the peak of his career, would he really want to give up Champions League football to join a team that finished 15th last season? When you think about it logically, it's hard to see how United could compete with other clubs for Isak right now. The money isn't there, the European football isn't there, and the player seems to have his heart set on Liverpool anyway. So what's the real story with Isak? Most likely, United's interest was either very preliminary or completely made up by the media. It's the kind of story that gets fans excited and generates clicks, but probably doesn't have much substance behind it. Benjamin Sesko, the more realistic target. Now, Benjamin Sesko is a different story altogether. This is where things get really interesting for United fans. Sesko plays for RB Leipzig in Germany, and he's been having an excellent time there. He's young, he's tall at 6 feet 5 inches, and he's got everything you want in a modern striker. He can hold up the ball, he's good in the air, and he knows where the goal is. The best part? Unlike the Isak situation, this one actually seems realistic for United. Reports suggest that United are genuinely confident about signing Sesko. The club believes they can get a deal done for around £70 million. Now, that's still a lot of money, but it's much more reasonable than the 120 million plus that Isak would cost. But wait, there's competition. Newcastle are also trying to sign Sesko. Eddie Howe's team have apparently made a massive proposal to the player. They're willing to pay his asking price, cover all the agent fees, and meet his personal terms. That sounds like a pretty attractive package, doesn't it? So why are United confident they can win this race? According to transfer journalist Pete O'Rourke, United are saying they have the money to pull off the deal. The club is taking the Hugo Ekitike transfer as a benchmark. Liverpool signed him from Frankfurt, and Leipzig wants similar money for Sesko. But money isn't the only factor here. There are two big reasons why Sesko might choose United over Newcastle. First, he's apparently not bothered by United's lack of Champions League football this season. The reports suggest he sees the bigger picture. He's interested in the long-term project at Old Trafford. Second, he wants to work with Ruben Amorim. The Portuguese manager has a reputation for developing young players, and Sesko clearly sees this as a great opportunity for his career. United have even sent a delegation overseas to meet with Sesko's representatives. During these talks, the player made it clear that missing out on Champions League football for one season isn't a deal-breaker for him. He's thinking about the future, not just the present. The Newcastle challenge. But let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Newcastle are not giving up easily. Eddie Howe's team have put together what sounds like an incredibly attractive package for Sesko. They have Champions League football to offer this season. They're an ambitious club with wealthy owners, and they're building something special at St. James Park. There have even been reports suggesting that Sesko has changed his mind and now prefers Newcastle over United. Some sources in Slovenia claimed the striker had made his decision in favor of the Magpies. However, Newcastle manager Eddie Howe isn't getting drawn into the speculation. When asked about Sesko during a press conference in South Korea, he basically said he's not dealing with transfer business directly and can't comment on individual targets. This kind of response from managers is pretty standard during transfer windows. They rarely confirm interest in players until deals are actually done. What about a swap deal? Here's where things get even more interesting. There were reports earlier this week suggesting that RB Leipzig might be interested in United striker Rasmus Højlund as Sesko's replacement. This could have led to some kind of swap deal that would benefit everyone. United get Sesko, Leipzig get Højlund, and both clubs save some money in the process. But according to the latest reports, this idea has already fallen apart. Højlund apparently doesn't want to be used as a bargaining chip in the Sesko deal. The Danish striker wants to stay at United and fight for his place in the team. You can understand Højlund's position here. He's still young, he's just had his first season at United, and he probably wants to prove himself at Old Trafford rather than moving to Germany. The financial reality. Let's talk about money for a minute because that's really what all of this comes down to. United have already spent £134.5 million on 3 attacking players this summer. That's a huge amount of money, especially for a club that doesn't have Champions League revenue this season. Adding another £70 million for Sesko would take their summer spending on attack alone to over £200 million. That's an incredible amount of investment in one area of the team. Can United actually afford this? The reports suggest they can, but it would probably require selling some players first. The club needs to balance the books somehow. There have been ongoing stories about players like Jadon Sancho potentially leaving. If United can get good money for players they don't really need, then maybe the Sesko deal becomes more realistic. But if they can't sell anyone, then even the £70 million fee for Sesko might be too much. Why United need a striker? You might be wondering why United are so desperate to sign another striker when they already have Højlund and have spent so much money on other attacking players. The answer is pretty simple. United's attack was terrible last season. The team scored far too few goals, and that's a big reason why they finished so low in the table. Højlund showed promise in his first season, but he's still very young and inexperienced. Having competition for places would be good for him, and having different options would give Amorim more tactical flexibility. The 3-4-2-1 formation that Amorim likes to use needs a strong central striker who can hold up the ball and bring others into play. Sesko fits this profile perfectly. Also, if United are serious about getting back into the top 4 and competing for trophies, they need more quality throughout their squad. Having just one main striker option isn't enough for a club with United's ambitions. What happens next? So where do we go from here? What should United fans expect in the coming weeks? With just 1 month left in the transfer window, time is running out. If United are serious about signing Sesko, they need to act quickly. The good news is that the player seems genuinely interested in joining United. The reports about him being attracted to the long-term project and wanting to work with Amorim sound convincing. The bad news is that Newcastle are still very much in the race, and they have some advantages over United right now. For this deal to happen, United probably need to do 2 things. First, they need to sell some players to raise funds and free up space in the squad. Second, they need to convince Sesko that their project is more attractive than what Newcastle can offer. The first part might be tricky. The transfer market for selling players is always difficult, and United might not get the prices they want for their unwanted players. The second part is more about selling the vision. United are still a bigger club than Newcastle globally, they have more history and tradition, and they have a manager in Amorim who has a great reputation for developing young talent. The bigger picture. Whether United sign Sesko or not, this transfer window shows that the club is trying to rebuild properly. The investment in attack makes sense given how poor United were going forward last season. The focus on younger players like Sesko also suggests the club is thinking about the future, not just quick fixes. But there are still questions about whether United are doing enough in other areas of the team. The defense and midfield also need work, and if all the money goes on attackers, those problems might not get solved. The lack of Champions League football is also a real issue when it comes to attracting the best players. United might be able to convince someone like Sesko to join despite this, but it will always be a disadvantage when competing with clubs who can offer European football. Fan expectations. United fans have been through a lot in recent years. The club has made many promises about rebuilding and getting back to the top, but the results on the pitch haven't matched the rhetoric. This summer feels different though. The signings so far suggest a clear plan, and the pursuit of Sesko shows ambition. But fans will only really believe in the project when they see results on the pitch. If United do sign Sesko and the team starts scoring more goals and winning more games, then all this transfer activity will look brilliant. But if the team continues to struggle, then questions will be asked about whether all this money has been spent wisely. The pressure is really on Amorim now. He's been backed in the transfer market, so he needs to deliver results. The fans won't be patient forever. Other transfer business. While the striker situation gets most of the attention, United are also working on other deals. There continue to be stories about Jadon Sancho's future. The winger knows his next move is crucial for his career, and he apparently wants to join a club that suits his playing style. There are also ongoing rumors about players coming in. Links to PSG goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma keep appearing, though transfer expert Fabrizio Romano has tried to clarify the situation there. Chelsea's interest in Alejandro Garnacho is another story that won't go away. The young winger has been one of United's bright spots, so selling him would be a big risk. All of these stories show that United's transfer business is far from finished. Even if they do sign Sesko, there will probably be more movement before the window closes. Conclusion. So there you have it, the real story behind United's pursuit of Alexander Isak and Benjamin Sesko. The Isak links appear to be more media speculation than genuine interest. The financial and sporting realities make it very difficult for United to compete for a player of his caliber right now. The Sesko situation is much more promising. United seem genuinely confident about this deal, the player appears interested, and the price is more reasonable. But Newcastle are providing strong competition, and nothing is guaranteed until contracts are signed. What's clear is that United are trying to rebuild their attack properly. The investment this summer shows real ambition, and signing someone like Sesko would be a real statement of intent. Whether it actually happens remains to be seen. Transfer windows are unpredictable, and deals can collapse at the last minute for all sorts of reasons. But for the first time in a while, United fans have genuine reason to be optimistic about their club's direction. The signings make sense, the strategy seems clear, and there's a feeling that the club might finally be getting its act together. We'll continue to follow all these stories closely here at United News. When there are developments, you'll be the first to know. When there's speculation that needs debunking, we'll be here to set the record straight. That's what we do here. We give you the truth about Manchester United. Whether it's good news or bad news, we don't deal in false hope or unrealistic expectations. We tell you what's really happening so you can make up your own mind about where the club is heading. Keep following United News for all the latest updates on these transfer stories and everything else happening at Old Trafford. We're your trusted source for Manchester United news, and we'll keep bringing you the stories that matter most to Red Devils fans everywhere.